There's one thing you can come to expect about the D.H.E show is that we are always going to give you the truth on how our business is doing, whether it's good, bad, whatever. In March's business update for 2024, that's no different than the rest of our shows, is just an honest peek under the hood, so to speak, about Switchback and how are we doing at 4 months into our journey online. Mostly it's good news. I mean, there's definitely some stumbling blocks that we had. There's some things that we wish we could have done differently, but at the end of the day, we made a lot of progress in terms of learning in March. We didn't see it in sales, but learning just about the business, about this industry, and how we need to, do better on quite a few areas that are going to ultimately drive the needle. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. Again, take notes on what did not work for us, and don't do those things, and try to focus in on the things that we're having some success with and the things that you're definitely having success with as well. And I think that is going to build the roadmap that you need to see the success you're looking for moving forward. So without further ado, enjoy the episode today with Ole and I in the D.H.E show.
All right, Matt, it's been a long time since you and I have sat down. We had a crazy ass month of March, didn't we?
Yeah, interesting. Crazy.
That is such a Minnesota thing. Interesting.
Well,
yeah, no, you can say what it was. It was hair on fire, A to B, chaos from March 1 to April 1. In a good way.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes that happened with the company, with every facet of it. We hired somebody, we changed distribution, we changed production. We did not change the website, thankfully, but there are a lot of business learnings over the last 30 days.
We almost changed the website.
Did we?
Wasn't it March where we got rid of free shipping temporarily for like a week? And then it's been a month of months for us. The month was crazy. In every sense, it was an emotional roller coaster. I think probably, 7 or 8 times. You had to talk me off of a ledge because I wanted to drastically change something or make a significant change or do something stupid, because it was a mentally difficult month going back. I mean, going back to the beginning, right? In February, we fired our 3PL for just cause and very legitimate reasons. We've talked about that. And everything was supposed to ship within they told me you got 3 days to ship it out. Well, 4 weeks later, I'm like, guys, we need our product. And I almost get angry. So I got to watch how I say this. I'm getting angry when I think about how many boxes showed up here and how much crap we had. And for 2 weeks, it was just a nightmare navigating this office, because it was like living in a hoarder's house, I feel like. It sucked.
But we're not here just to bitch and moan and complain about it. We're here to do our business update and make sure people understand.
But that's a part of it, right? We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going shit happens. Shit happened in March, and it started off incredibly rough, and it sucked, and it was brutal. And all of a sudden, we got our new product manufactured. It got made. It got shipped, and it feels like we're a completely different company now. And I would be remiss to say if you're starting a company, I go back to this guy who owns a popcorn company, told me early on in my entrepreneur days, he goes, it's going to be 10 times tougher than you think it is. You're going to need 3 times the amount of money you think you're going to need. And I was like, fuck off, dude. You don't know me. He was 100% right.
Well, you just don't know what you don't know. And I think March kind of sums it all up, that it was a big learning for us in all sorts of different facets. Let's talk about product quality, product changes, packaging changes. Let's start there. So we talked about difficulties producing the product over the last few shows, but what did we change in the middle of March that we think is going to set us up long term where we need to be?
Right there.
So if you're listening to this, Ole's showing our new packaging.
Yeah, as I say, if you listen to it, you're not seeing it. If you're watching the video, you're seeing our new packaging. Our new packaging, same height. It's about 1.5 inches wider. It is sealed incredibly well. And we update our packaging. I mean, there's a multitude of reasons. Number one, we needed to make a change. But number two, probably the bigger piece of it is now when you look at our packaging, and Matt, you did a friggin' awesome job on an ad for this, but our old packaging was sweet, but you just didn't know what was in it. People had no idea. They looked at it like, oh, what's Switchback? Is there tiger blood in here? Is there tiger meat? Now they can see it. Now the imagery, if you're watching the video, you can see the imagery right here, right now, of what is actually inside of this packet. And it's totally awesome, and it's going to be amazing for us moving forward. We've already gotten amazing feedback on it. So that was a huge piece. Into new packaging, new production run, and we're off to the races.
Yeah, so I think just real quick on the packaging piece, if you're new and you are trying to figure out how to package your product and how to get it ready to go, I think there's sort of two things you have to think about. Number one is, where specifically are you selling this product? So I think when we did the first round of packaging, our answer to that was we're online. We're an e-com company selling product online. Packaging matters to some extent, but doesn't really matter because the way that we'll sell online is through ads and our website and everything else. So the way that the product is presented at the end of the day when the customer receives it, they already know what it is. If that's you and that's the business you're creating, your packaging doesn't have to work as hard for you because you're pre-selling everything way before they get the product. We realized about 6 months ago, there's an opportunity to go to retail with our product and sell in actual stores like Target and Costco and all of them, right? But the current packaging we had, like Ole was just saying, it was confusing. Like, what is the product? We got it because we're so close to it. Our friends and family got it because we had time to sit down and explain it to them. But the rule of thumb in packaging is if a person doesn't know what they're looking at within 3 to 5 seconds from about 3 to 5 feet away, your packaging is not set up very well. So if you look at the new packaging we have, it very clearly, the very first thing it says is green smoothies, followed by what's actually in this thing, followed by shake to make. Like, you got to put it in a blender bottle and shake it up. And it's very clear from 3 feet away in 3 seconds what we are. That was the big change. That was the big impetus on why we did this is yes, we're still e-commerce, but we want to start selling in grocery stores, and we had to have new packaging.
Yeah, I mean, take something as basic as when you're an e-commerce company. If you're watching, you can see it. We got a UPC on there now. Right? You can actually scan this thing. Before, we didn't have that because we were just e-commerce. So there's a lot of these simple little things that were, I think, easily overlooked. Not overlooked by the marketing company, by the way. Like, they knew what they were doing. They knew what we were doing. Because I said we're an e-commerce company first. What I didn't realize, and if you're out there, like, don't make that mistake. Put the UPC on there. Put the imagery on there. It might take a little bit more time, but it saves you from having to go through everything twice and spending double the amount of money on plates and printing and blah, 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 blah. Just do it right the first time.
Yeah.
The other piece of it too, right, Matt, is that, the packaging. We were in a metallized poly, which is okay, but not great. And we moved into a true foil-based packaging, which is the ultimate form of, it's like the Ferrari packaging for freeze-dried product. So now our product really does have that shelf life that could probably be in perpetuity because the oxygen moisture barrier there is as good as you can possibly get in packaging.
So that's really technical.
Yeah.
All Ole's saying is make sure that you understand. Ask lots of questions. Is this really the right packaging for me? Because all the packaging companies, they're just going to give you what's the easiest for them to sell or the thing that they want to just sell the most of. But you got to really make sure that you're asking the right questions. Again, also, I will throw this out real quick too. Don't get overwhelmed by this because packaging's super, super complicated, and you're not supposed to be an expert. There are people that all they do is packaging. So go find experts that you can work with. We happen to work with a great company called Seed House who helped us with the design. I highly recommend talking to them. We get nothing for that. They just were really, really, really good. And reach out to packaging experts on what you actually need because you don't figure it out yourself. Just go find people that know this space really well because it's too much here.
Yeah, and I know, Matt. I'm gonna call you. You're like, there's a lot of science stuff. If you're building a company and your product relies on packaging, you need to understand the fucking science because the science is going to prevent you from losing hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars with shitty stuff. We used a couple $100 million company for the first one, and I didn't know what questions to ask, and they put us in the wrong packaging for what we were doing. The oxygen moisture barrier, and I know that's scientific, but like that is really important in food. It was terrible. And so in the long run, there's no way it would have been efficient for us. But these were questions I didn't know to ask. So if you don't know,
Yep.
Call me, call Matt, call anybody. I'll help guide anybody. Like, hey, like, what's your product? Here's what I recommend. Because packaging is an incredibly important part. When I was in insurance, a lot of the lawsuits that we saw revolved around faulty packaging. it was crazy.
Sure.
So very important. What else do we do in March, Matt?
Yeah. So, and I promise we will get to numbers and we'll go through the actual factual, like how did we do? But the second big thing we did in March was we hired someone. We actually have an employee. She's looking at us right now. You guys can't see her. She's shy, laughing, embarrassed. Oh, her cheeks are turning red. No, she's not. She's our social media manager. So Abby is on board. We couldn't be more excited that she's here. She's a month in at this point, and I think things are really, really starting to crank up on social media for us in a fantastic way.
Dude, find yourself an Abby out there who's like the jack of all trades, because, again, we hired her for social media. And it's been amazing. Matt, you and I were out like 2 weeks in March, and Abby literally came in first week, shipping orders, holding down the shop, doing amazing things. So, I won't lie, like, hiring my first employee was scary as hell. Thankfully, Matt did it for me. So good job, Matt, because I had nothing to do with that.
Well, and one thing to note on how we did this. So Abby, I've known Abby for a while. I'm very, very, very good friends with her uncle. So, like, there's some connection there. But Abby helped us 6 months ago, maybe. She started helping us with social media stuff because this is what she does. And we had her help out. And I think we paid her in smoothies. I'm looking at her. I think we just gave her free smoothies. But it was a way for her to learn marketing and food that she had never done before. And after a couple months, we talked, like, how's it going? Do you like this? Is this something you enjoy doing? And it turned out it was. But we also, as a company, got to see what she was doing already, got to work a little bit together, got to understand how we work, how she works. Is this going to be a good fit? And, of course, like, she's here. It is a good fit. But I think it would have still worked in this particular case. But the fact that we got to see a few months of her work and how she went about stuff was, like, the no-brainer. Of course, we were going to make this happen because she's already working great with us, right?
It was amazing. It was kind of similar to how you came on board, right? It wasn't, hey, I want a business partner. Let me just go find someone that has my passion. It was literally you, hey, man, I want to do this, and I want to do this. And, hey, by the way, well, you kind of suck at this, so let me go do this for you. And then before you know it, like, you got a key to the place. So it's amazing. Like, I almost would recommend it to any entrepreneur out there of just, like, find people that believe in what you're doing, get them engaged in the mission, and you like their work, hire them. And I think as we look out into the future and need to hire probably another 20 people in the next 5 years, that's probably what we're going to do is just find people that are passionate, see what they do, and bring them on.
And so I don't know from an HR standpoint I'm sure we did things the wrong way, but there is something to sort of this test run trial. I don't know if you formally have to make them a 1099 or something. Either way, like, you got to test the waters on both sides because they need to make sure that they like the environment. Like, it's very weird, I think, working with Ole and I and how we work and what we're doing. So if you're not able to step into this environment, it wouldn't be a good fit. But
if you're afraid of conflict, it would not be good because Matt and I, every morning, I usually come in pretty chipper, and Matt is pretty. You've heard us talk about this before, but, like, it's very true. Like and talk about awareness. Like, I just got to remember when I come in, I'm ready to go, and Matt's still waking up.
Yeah.
And Abby, sits there and smiles, listening to us just go back and forth for like 15 minutes over shit. So it is pretty funny how you and I can go back and forth, and Abby just sits there and laughs. She's not scared of our incessant bickering in the mornings.
Yeah, so Abby's here. We have official employee number one. She's doing all our social media, which is, we are an e-commerce company trying to do e-com through the traditional social channels. The reality is, I am not good at that. I'm not good at posting. I'm not good at doing the things you have to do every single day in that space. Ole is not, and we're not going to try to be experts there. So we found someone who is, and it's way easier in this instance to hire an expert and have them run it versus us trying to figure it out. We were paying an agency too. Like, it's important to note, we were paying an agency that's doing a lot of our paid social. They were also helping us with our organic social. So the money was being spent one way or another. We just reallocated it to having a person on our team that is 100% focused on this versus using an agency where it was, 10% of your time was 5% of her time, whatever, was focused on us. And I think if you go back, we did this yesterday. We looked at our social media feeds prior to Abby joining and after she joined. And what a difference when someone who's honed in on the business and this is their job every day. Like, we look like a company now on Instagram, and it is actually really encouraging to see it kind of transform.
And we kind of look at a company internally too. We can see the carpet again.
Yeah, right. It's clean. So that was big number 2. So we had new packaging launched, new production run in the new packaging. We took distribution in-house. Did we talk about that?
You know, we talked about that a little bit last month, why we were going to do it. I know we had a podcast specific to that, but high level, every single fulfillment company out there is going to tell you they can save you money. I call bullshit on that. In fact, there's a guy on LinkedIn that keeps harassing me about, we can save you money. I'm like, dude, tell me your costs. But he won't disclose his costs because he knows that he can't save us money. Do the distribution yourself. Find a small warehouse, do it yourself. I swear to God, you will save money. As a startup, every dollar matters. You're not a tech company. Maybe you are, but you're probably not. If you can save $5 an order, that's $5 in margin you pick up by doing shit yourself. And by the way, it takes literally 30 seconds to kit an order for me. I mean, if that, not kit, to pick, pack, ship. We also brought all of our kitting in-house too, right? We were using a different company. Kitting is done in-house. We're actually using a guy right behind us. But again, one of those things that, saving us immense. I mean, just between bringing our fulfillment in-house and kitting in-house, probably going to save us somewhere in the neighborhood. I mean, if we stay on this run rate and we continue to grow the way we have been, we had $25,000, $30,000 in savings this year alone.
I was listening to a podcast this morning. It was a guy that made like Christmas light systems, like crazy ones, elaborate ones. And he goes, I'm not a marketing guy. Like, I don't outmarket anybody, but I will outwork you in operations, logistics, supply chain, distribution. I am an absolute expert in that space, and I've cut out every single piece of fat in that world. So while I can't outmarket you, I can outproduce you because my costs are so in line and yours aren't. And I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting perspective.
Dude, that is fascinating. So you're going to have to send that to me because I want to listen to that. Because, I mean, literally, when you think about what we've done, Matt, in the last 30 days, we cut our shipping and fulfillment costs at a bare minimum, according to our CFO, 49%. And in many orders, we're at 70% savings on our fulfillment and shipping. And I mean, that's real money. Think about how that adds up as we scale and as we get bigger. I mean, you really got to be an enormous company with hundreds, if not thousands of SKUs to justify hiring these fulfillment companies. And honestly, they're all criminals. I'll just say it. And you can come after me, but like, dude, they suck.
Which is also something that I think is interesting to point out. If you're an experienced e-com person listening to this, you're probably like, Matt and Ole, you guys are morons. Like, why do you not have a board of directors or something that is guiding you a little bit on stop making these stupid decisions? Well, you know what? It is what it is. Like, we've made decisions. There's one thing we're not afraid to do. We're not afraid to act, and we're not afraid to course correct. So we are, like, I think part of why we're sharing this journey is we've had successes and we've had lots of failures and lots of screw ups and mistakes. And we'll share both evenly so that just listen to us and don't do the stupid things we've done. Do the smart things we've done and you'll be good.
Matt, I agree with you about what you said. However, you got to remember when I started this thing, I had CEOs of I'm talking $100 million and $1 billion companies and CEOs of $40 million companies that were helping me, guiding me. I was asking questions. And every one of them was like, do the fulfillment.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that you had big companies guiding you.
Yeah.
I come from big company world. It's very different being a startup, and I don't think I appreciated that enough. I think learning it yourself intimately for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months before you decide if you need a 3PL, before you decide if you need a social media manager, before you decide if you need paid advertising.
Yes.
Like, you have to own the process, or you have to have people on your team or on your board of directors that have literally sat in your shoes from startup to wherever they're at. Like, jumping to the $40 million, $50 million, $100 million companies, we have such a different perspective when we're in a big company and how it should run versus just getting something off the ground.
To that point, I think it's really good to know, like, the really fun part, if you don't love to learn, You're going to hate entrepreneur land. You're going to hate building a business. Like, that's part of the fun is every day coming in and talking with Matt when Matt wakes up and he's not, yelling at me. To be like, what did you learn? Like, we both come in every day with new things like, hey, we learned this, or hey, we looked at this, and like, we're running the numbers on this. It's amazing how when you are like, you go from big business to little business. Like, I mean, I work for a multi-billion-dollar insurance broker. I didn't care about the numbers. Those were irrelevant to me in a I was one tiny, like not even a percentage of theirs. So when you are in this realm that we're in, soak that up. And dude, it's fun. Like, understanding fulfillment now. I mean, I don't understand how fulfillment makes sense for the vast majority of people, because that's real money. That is an insane amount of money that these companies can save. Yep. But everybody gets duped into it. Because like, you should be spending time selling, not fulfilling. Like,
well, that is true too.
Yeah, but
and that's what our new fulfillment guy says. So Abe is our guy here. He's helping us. He's local. He's not a 3PL. He's just a guy who has a warehouse and knows how to do this. That he literally laughs. I was down packing orders last week, and he's like, "Will you guys please get out of the warehouse and go sell? Like, you guys need to be selling. Let me take care of all of this for you."
Yes. With a big caveat of if we had to do that ourselves and we had to have our own warehouse space, we could easily do it, and we could the cost to have someone come in every day at 2:00 and pick pack 100 orders for an hour and a half would still be way cheaper than hiring a 3PL.
Yep.
Like, or fulfillment company. Like, don't make those two mistakes. So you can sense the passion there, the excitement. We got a lot of exciting stuff. Matt, why don't we just go jump into the awesome numbers? I know you're stoked to start talking about these, and we had kind of some weird, crazy fun.
So lots of changes. Let's go through the numbers. We did not have a great month from a sales standpoint. Again, we talked about some of the issues we had. We ran out of product on Amazon again because of the new packaging. We ran out of product ourselves in the office because of the new packaging. So I think the best way to explain the last 3 months has been like, we're pushing a giant boulder uphill, and we start to have some progress, and we slip and fall, and the boulder rolls back down. And then we get good again when we're a little smarter and we push a little faster because we know a little bit more, and whoops, it falls down again. So I think April is going to be great, and we're in the middle. Well, we're a few days into April, so we'll see. But here we go, March. We did roughly $6,000 in sales on our Shopify store. That is down 5% to February. So January was great. February was not great. March was even worse. Interestingly, the biggest issue with March is that our generation of new sales was really low. We were down 20% on brand new orders. Interestingly, on repeat subscribers, we were up 42%. So we have been seeing a really great trend, which this is the goal of every business, but e-com in particular, is that it's really hard to get new customers. But if you treat them great and have a good product, you should have a decent amount stick around. And we are starting to see that. We are at the industry sort of average of repeat purchases, which is fantastic. I mean, at least it says to us our product's good. And the people that we get, they do like it. So,
are you going to talk about why orders were down? I mean, we didn't suck. Wasn't like our website, but like what was the driver of why do we think our orders were down, and what was our panic in the month of March? I mean, every day we were talking about this.
So when you look at traffic to our website last month, and I'm just talking about Shopify right now. I'm not talking about Amazon. That was a completely different beast. But traffic to our Shopify store in March, we had 6,000 store sessions, 6,000 people come to our store. That was up 26% versus February. We got way more traffic. March, something happened with Meta, which is one of our big platforms that we advertise on. And Meta basically sucked for almost everybody. And it was sending us tons of people, but people that were not actually interested in buying our products. So traffic was up 26%. Our conversion rate was down 35%. We got way more people coming to our store who did not give two craps about us at all, which is a terrible combination. I would rather have 100 people come to the store and convert a bunch of those, 100 of the right people, than have 100,000 of the wrong people and convert hardly any of them. Right? It's very expensive to send crappy traffic to your store. And we don't really control that. I mean, Meta is our main driver right now. And for whatever reason, their algorithm changed in the middle of February, and it was a really rough 8 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that was the toughest thing, Matt, we were looking at the traffic, we were looking at the conversions, and I mean, we had to have gone at least a couple weeks without a Meta sale, right? I mean, it was brutal. We were spending a boatload of money, getting almost nothing in return. And I mean, I know before I left for Arizona for Easter with my kids, I was like, dude, should we just shit can this Meta stuff and just move on because it's not working? Like, no wonder Mark's getting so rich.
Yeah, now we're only a week into April, but April Meta is vastly different. So we'll see. We will report on it in a few weeks on if this trend holds or not. But we're not alone. I'm part of a mastermind e-commerce group, and we've got a giant forum with 300 business owners doing massive amounts of e-com business, and almost every person in that group said Meta was terrible for them, terrible during this time period. So I will be the first to admit our creative is not great. Our ads aren't wonderful, but we're doing what we had been doing, and just huge drop off. So conversion rate way down, way down. We're a little over 1% conversion rate. That means that on average, if 100 people come to our website, we're getting one person to buy. That's really tough. We were around 2%, which doesn't sound like that big of a difference, but it is. I mean, that really makes a huge difference in a store. Total orders were up, surprisingly, Ole. I didn't realize this. Orders were up 10% last month. I mean, it means we sold a lot more small items, but we did see a big increase in total orders.
That shocks me because I felt like last month, literally, it was again. I mean, every time I looked at stuff, it was just, I felt like the world was crashing down on us.
You know what I bet a lot of that is? I bet it's the giveaways that we started doing on TikTok. Yep, that's exactly what it is.
We're giving a lot of stuff away.
Yes, we need to figure out how to get that to not show up in the dashboards. So we started TikTok. I guess that's a big update. And we started going live on TikToks. We do giveaways and flash sales. We also have a TikTok account. We'll talk about that in a different episode because that's a whole separate topic. But that's why orders are up. That's super interesting. That's wonky because then it plays with our AOV number, our average.
Now you understand why our CFO doesn't like the fact that we're giving shit away on TikTok and not because he's not going to be able to segment that into different class codes. So if we had a different, which is a really interesting thing. What's up?
We're gonna have to clean that up somehow.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out how to change that. But yeah, it's really weird. So we'll get there. Good thing we got a CFO that is now a guru in e-commerce.
Yeah, I think the rest of these, there's not all that much excitement to talk about here. I mean, I mentioned traffic is up, but it almost doesn't matter when it's not great traffic. We started a couple other things that we just don't have enough data on to talk about yet. We started an affiliate program with like blogs and influencers and that sort of stuff, separate of just social media influencers. So that's starting to show a little bit in March, but we're not going to see a whole lot from that coming for a while. We transitioned our Google PPC to a different strategy where, again, it's new. We don't have a lot to share yet there. So a ton of changes, but it's not showing up in March yet, and honestly probably won't show up for a couple months and everything overall.
One of the biggest changes I would say to this business that was a huge update in March was Matt has been on our case for the last 5 months about having a weekly meeting, and we finally established a weekly meeting. And I hate weekly meetings. This weekly meeting is actually productive. We go over all the numbers. Everybody comes prepared, and we discuss what we fell short on, what we need to improve on, what we're working on. That is a huge, huge thing. And we would be remiss not to say how important that is and how big of an update that is for this business in March to get those there was weekly meetings and to have those going. The other one that's interesting too is, Matt and I discussed coming from insurance, and this isn't really, it's kind of a monthly update, but, vendor reviews, just doing no matter how much you love a vendor, Matt and I came to the conclusion, like, every June or July, we're going to do a vendor review and just make sure we're with the right partners and we're seeing the right performance, because you're spending a lot of money. I mean, we're spending a lot of money, Matt, with a lot of these vendors. And sometimes I feel like I'm like, what the hell am I getting in return other than a credit card bill? And I honestly, like, so it's tough. So doing that and just trying to understand, and if you're not comfortable, change vendors, find someone that's going to be aggressive with you.
Yeah, I think no matter who you are, you have to do that. Like when I was at Land O'Lakes, we did giant reviews on agency partners. You do it once or twice, or once every like 2 years. It was not as frequent. I think when you're a startup, you got to do it every 6 months. Like, do you have the right people on your team? And if you do, awesome, keep going. If you don't, you got to make a change.
Yeah, and biggest piece, don't change for the sake of change, right? Don't change because your buddy owns a firm and says he can do it. Change because there's actually pain. And we've experienced that, right? Like we've got a couple vendors that are I think are in the hot seat because of that, because we have pain. We're spending a lot of money, but we're not really getting a lot in return. And we keep hearing the same thing week after week of, blah, blah, blah. You got to do this, you got to do that. At some point, you're just like, hey, prove it. So, anything else, Matt? I know we're getting up there in time here.
No,
so
I think next time I might start sharing a little bit of the social media stuff. Just again, this is kind of e-commerce focused and what we're doing. It might be interesting for you guys to hear and see, like, what is our follower count? Well, how many posts are we doing? Like that sort of stuff. So I might tie that in a little bit. But at a high level, like we already said, it was a great learning month, a very tough sales month, but we that rock is getting pushed up the hill now, and as of today, we haven't slipped yet this month, so that's great. We'll keep going. You got any last final words? Anything you want to add?
No, April's gonna be a lot better. We're excited to talk to you in May about the April month review, but right now things are looking good. We're having a lot of fun. Big changes. Be fast, be nimble, and keep the head up, because I know it's cliche, but it's the journey, not the destination. I remind myself of that every day. Like, if we were a $10 million company tomorrow, I'm sure we'd have fun, but we'd be like, what the hell, right? Like, we get to experience the joy of building this thing and like an understanding. Like, this is real. This is real. This is a real life MBA, and we're having a hell of a lot of fun. We're happy to share with you. So you got questions, reach out. We're happy to answer them.
Awesome. Cool. Until next time, y'all.
Peace.
Take care. Thanks. See ya.